and Alan was riding his motorcycle in San Francisco. When was Alan riding his motorcycle?
Well, it's 5 o'clock.
Well, at 5 o'clock, right? At 5 o'clock, Alan was riding his motorcycle.
Yes.
Was Alan riding his car? Or was Alan riding his motorcycle?
Yes, of course.
Of course, Alan was riding his motorcycle.
His motorcycle.
Where was Alan riding his motorcycle?
Yes, in San Francisco.
In San Francisco. Alan was riding his motorcycle in San Francisco.
San Francisco.
When was he riding?
At 5
At 5 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, Alan was riding his motorcycle in San Francisco. He was riding down Van Ness Street
Alan.
and came to a stoplight. Who was riding down Van Ness Street?
Alan.
Alan. Alan was riding down Van Ness Street. What was he riding on?
On the motorcycle.
Well, on a motorcycle. He was riding on his motorcycle. Was he riding down Market Street?
No, not Market Street.
No, not Market Street. He wasn't riding down Market Street.
Van Ness Street.
Was he riding down Lombard Street?
No, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't riding down Lombard Street. He was riding down Van Ness Street.
Yes, he was.
When? When was he riding down Van Ness Street?
At 5 o'clock.
At 5 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, he was riding down Van Ness Street. Who was riding down Van Ness Street at 5 o'clock?
Alan. Alan is riding down Van Ness Street at
Alan
5 o'clock.
was riding down Van Ness Street at 5 o'clock. Was he in a truck?
No, he was on motorbike.
No, he wasn't in a truck. He was on
motorbike.
his motorcycle.
His motorcycle. Motorcycle.
And
Sorry, motorcycle.
he came to a stoplight.
No, he didn't.
Did Alan come to a go light?
Alan, of course.
No. He didn't come to a go light. He came to a stoplight.
Stoplight.
We never say go light. We only say stoplight. Who came to a stoplight?
Alan.
Alan, of course. Alan came to a stoplight.
Stoplight.
What was he on when he came to a stoplight?
He was on
A motorcycle. He was on a motorcycle when he came to a stoplight. Where was the stoplight?
He was riding Van Ness Street.
Well, on Van Ness Street.
On Van Ness
The
Street.
stoplight
Van Ness Street.
was on Van Ness Street. Was the stoplight on Embarcadero Street?
No.
Or was the stoplight on Van Ness Street?
Yes.
Van Ness, of course, Van Ness. The stoplight was on Van Ness Street. Who was at the stoplight?
Alan.
Alan was at the stoplight.
At stoplight.
Which city was Alan in? In San Francisco, of course.
Yes. Alan
was
in
in
San Francisco.
San Francisco. Where is Van Ness?
Van Ness.
Well, Van Ness Street is in San Francisco. Of course, Van Ness Street is in San Francisco. Is Van Ness Street in New York? Or is Van Ness Street in San Francisco?
Yes, Van Ness Street in San Francisco.
Well, of course, Van Ness Street is in San Francisco. Where was Alan riding? Oh, he was riding on Van Ness Street in San Francisco. And he came to a stoplight. A red Ferrari pulled up next to him.
Yes.
Did the red Ferrari pull up behind him?
No, not behind him.
No, not behind him. The red Ferrari pulled up next to him. What pulled up next to Alan?
A red Ferrari.
A red Ferrari. A red Ferrari pulled up next to Alan.
Yes.
Did Alan pull up next to a red Ferrari?
No. Alan, no, he didn't.
No. Alan didn't pull up next to a red Ferrari. A red Ferrari pulled up next to him. Where did the red Ferrari pull up next to Alan?
Next to him, next to Alan, or next to Alan.
At a stoplight on Van Ness Street. At a stoplight on Van Ness Street, a red Ferrari pulled up next to Alan. Was Alan in a red Ferrari?
No.
No. Alan wasn't in a red Ferrari. He was on a motorcycle. Alan was on a motorcycle. What did the red Ferrari do?
It pulled up next to him.
Well, it pulled up next to Alan. The red Ferrari